Welcome to the Rock the Stage Show. Each week, international media expert Rich Bontrager has in-depth and personal conversations with celebrities, top leaders, authors, speakers, and media professionals. Now, from the Rock the Stage studios, here's your host, the Trigger, Rich Bontrager.
Welcome back to another edition of Rock the Stage Show. It's the Trigger, Rich Bontrager. Glad you're with us today because we are going to get into a very meaty, deep conversation. And just upfront warning, it may cause you to think a little bit today. What does it really mean to matter? That's the whole question we're going to get into here today. Beneath the titles, the success, and all the noise, there's a deeper human soul craving, isn't there? To be seen, to be understood, and to know our lives actually carry meaning. Today's conversation dives into that powerful question that's driving us both individually and as leaders as well. Are we making a difference? And does it really matter? And ultimately, do I matter? Today's guest is a brilliant thinker who lives at the intersection of philosophy, storytelling, and human meaning. She's a philosopher and a novelist, and she has spent her career exploring some of the biggest questions like truth, purpose, and now exploring and discussing how to matter. Her new book is called The Mattering Instinct: How Our Deepest Longing Drives Us and Divides Us. So her work challenges us not just to think deeper, but to live more intentionally. So welcome to Rock the Stage Show today, Rebecca Goldstein, and come on in to Rock the Stage Show, Rebecca.
It's great to be here.
So you're always about questioning. The more I read about you, you question everything, don't you?
Yeah, that's kind of the business I'm in, being a philosopher. Yeah. But it fits my temperament.
Was that something you were born into as a questioning family? And was that something you took your own deviation and said, I'm just going to question everything?
Yeah, I'd have to say I was not born into a family that asked for too many questions within a certain limit. I was born into a very religious family, Orthodox Jewish family. And so there were certain things you did not question. But within those parameters, there was a lot of questioning going on. And my father, who was very much a role model for me, I mean, he was a wonderful man, he would praise me not when I said something clever, but when I asked a good question.
Oh, really?
Yes, that was, and when I'd come home from school, he wouldn't want to know when I raised my hand, to give an answer. Did you raise your hand to ask a good question? So in some sense, yes, but I think I took my questioning a little too far.
You just had to go to higher level and higher level?
The field that I eventually went into, and I've been in many fields. I started in physics and math. And I asked too many questions there. Couldn't you believe it? So it was about this field, quantum mechanics, which is very weird. It's a very weird field.
Yes.
And I was in a graduate course, and I kept asking my professor, like, how do we connect this up with a world that looks at all like ours, right? Okay, I know how to do the math, but how? And he finally said, listen to this, a physics professor, he said, why don't you go talk to the philosophers? They ask these kind of meaningless questions that you seem so intent on. And that's how I ended up talking.
That's how you found your tribe. You got directed to go talk to those people.
To those people who will question everything. And so
that's beautiful.
Yeah. And that's how I ended up there. And, first went into philosophy of science, but then just kept. One of the wonderful things about being in philosophy is there's a philosophy of everything.
Yes.
Of everything, of education, of religion, of language, of art, of history, of everything. So you can just ask your meaningless questions all over the place.
You're taking me back to my college days years ago, but I remember I actually loved the philosophy courses because I like being the antagonist. Let's have a good question, but I'm going to ask you one that no one else in the group is going to think of or dare say, because I want to have that good debate discussion to sharpen everybody.
It's
So I love the idea you can
yeah.
poke holes at this stuff for an intentional reason.
Yeah, and it often turns out it's so useful, and it's so useful to be questioned by others. I mean, I
Yes.
love that, because there are premises that you're presuming to be true that you're not even noticing until somebody, who maybe doesn't share those premises, questions you, and that's the way you grow, and it can be painful, but growth can be painful, but. But it's good. In the long run, it's good.
So let me
It's
ask you one of those questions then.
good.
At the core of human experience, why is the need to matter so powerful? Why is that question baked into us?
Yeah, and it really is, and that's one of the things that it takes a little thought to realize how core that is to us,
Yes.
to want to matter because we've got this one life, and this is it, and we have to be thinking about ourselves all the time. We're wired to think about ourselves. We now have the neuroscience to understand. We have the science in general to understand why, when we're sort of like fantasizing or mind wandering, what are we fantasizing or mind wandering about? And we can step outside of it, and we all have this capacity, and we all do it, whether we remember doing it or not, and ask, hey, but do I really matter? You know, do who am I? What am I? Why am I devoting so much attention to this one finite little creature in the universe who happens to be me? And that puts us on a whole different level. That kind of makes us almost by nature philosophical creatures, asking a really basic, fundamental question of ourselves and wanting to be able to answer it.
So it's baked into us.
It's baked into us.
So there's that part of it. But then we also create our own variation, the bigger need, the bigger itch for some people. They're always scratching this. And is it also partly because we're comparing ourselves to other people? Because they matter. I gotta matter like them, right?
Yeah, no, I think there is a lot of comparison that goes on. And um, one group of people that I spoke to a great deal were people who suffer from severe depression. And what they say is exactly parroting something you say. I don't matter. Other people do, but I don't, and I never will, and I can't. And that leads to absolute paralysis.
Yes.
These are people who cannot move on with their lives. And in fact, the suicide hotline in the US is www.youmatter.gov. That's how fundamental to our mental health this is. So as you said, there's great diversity in how we try to meet this. And that leads to some of the deepest divisions between us because we have so much at stake in this. The way we try to answer our own questions about whether we matter or not. We stake our life on it. So, of course, we care emotionally tremendously about it. And we might want to universalize it. That is to say, well, if it's working for me, it ought to work for you. I'm living my life in a way to matter. You better get on board or you don't matter. And that is, that can lead to really deep divisions.
Well, I love your book and I love, the mattering instinct. But the subtitle is what got me.
Yeah.
Because you really poked the bear right away is that it can either unite or divide us.
Yeah.
This very thing that we're questioning, seeking, can unite or divide. Can you unpack that a little bit, please?
Yeah. So here we are. We are so alike, and I think one of the lessons I try to get across in the book is to see how alike we are in our great divisiveness at this moment and the polarization and
Yes.
the tribalism. Try to, as you're reading the paper and getting all exercised over why this group is doing that and why people are disagreeing, try to see the human instinct in this, the humanness at the core, because it's poignant. We are creatures of matter there's a poignancy in this, and there's a certain there's a certain dignity in it. Look at us, we're trying to justify ourselves in
Yes.
our own eyes. That's what I think we mean by the intrinsic dignity. So that's a good thing, to see this in each other. But by temperament, by talent, by interest, by culture, by random facts of one's biography,
Yes.
we go about it in different ways. And I actually have a little map that I sketch at the beginning. I talk about the mattering map, all these different regions,
Mhm.
these different ways that people go about trying to justify themselves in their own eyes, and that attaches them to their life. So, unlike the severely depressed,
Mhm.
uh, they want to get on with their lives. They get up in the morning. They have what I call mattering projects.
Ah,
Projects that sort of, channel this instinct forward. It's this way. It could be artistic, it could be intellectual, it could be social relationships, it could be one's relationship with a spiritual force that one
mhm.
believes in. It can be, doing good in the world, ethical
Right.
activities. It can be so much. And what I found across the Mattering map is people often will I collect quotes. I'm not a big collector, although
Oh.
looking at my office, you would think I am, 'cause I've got all this junk around, but, um, but I like to collect what I call universalizing statements. People who, whatever their Mattering project is, they are ordaining it for all of us.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and they mean well by this. They do,
Well, they're consumed. They're invested in it, and they want other people to be invested in it, and it just rolls out of it. I tell people it oozes out of them. They can't help it.
Exactly, they can't help it, and so, these statements of like, for example, this fashion designer, very famous, Diana Vreeland, I think that's how you pronounce her name. She was the editor of Vogue magazine, very strong personality, and she said, you have to be well dressed in this world. That's what gets you down the stairs in the morning. People who are not well dressed are nobodies. Are nobodies,
Whoa!
which would exclude me and all of my philosophical colleagues. So there's this, but I found scientists saying this. What makes a person matter is discovering the laws of nature. What could matter more? Blah blah.
Yes.
And wherever it is, so it's not only the religious who have a tendency to universalize,
Yep.
or
Yep.
it's all across the mattering map. So that's something to watch out for, in oneself. And, what suits one may not be what suits other people. There are many, many ways,
Well, and again, that's why I love
many ways.
the the discussions, debate of philosophy. I love it because there are different windows to look through and discuss what you see, what you feel. I love all of that. Let
So
me go.
even here, you can see my planter. I have um, uh, what is I think it's with succulents growing out of Socrates' head over there, but that's Socrates back there with treating him with very little dignity there. But he said the unexamined life is not worth living. And
Oh,
by being examined life, he means people like him, philosophers. Not everybody has the luxury or the inclination or the talent to go around questioning everything and examining everything.
right.
But that is one of those universalizing statements that philosophers live by. And I say, no, works for us, doesn't work for others.
Let me pull a quote out of your latest book here. The hunger to matter may be the most powerful force shaping human behavior. But here's my thought on that is the desire to matter something we can ever fully satisfy?
Yeah.
Is this an itch that we're always going to scratch because it's part of us forever?
Yeah. Great question. That's why I call it a longing. I love that word, the longing to matter. And longings, they're long. I mean, you can never really satisfied,
No.
and you can't know. So we stake our life. Again, look at the poignancy of what it is to be human. We stake our life. Okay, this is how I'm going to do it. This is how I'm going to be well dressed, or I'm going to, live the examined life, or I'm going to cultivate my relationship with the God who I think but don't know
Right.
exists. In all of these, there's a leap of faith. We don't
Yes.
know.
So
There's a saying from the ancient Sufi mystic Rumi, and I love it. It's, let the beauty you love be what you do. There are hundreds of ways to kneel down and kiss the ground. Isn't that beautiful? That makes me cry. I say, that's sort of, yes.
yeah.
Yeah, it's so expansive. It's so accepting. And, the beauty you love be the thing that you do. There are hundreds of ways of loving beauty.
So we live in a society that is battling this question, but is our society distorting this quest to find this answer, to understand deeper? Are we seeing through a clear lens or a blurry lens? Is what society is also throwing at us.
Yeah, and we're creatures who live in society. We're gregarious. We want the respect of our fellow creatures.
Yes.
Yes, and we want to be treated as if we matter. Right now, certain people are set up as mattering more than the rest of us. That never sits well.
Celebrities.
Celebrities, the very rich, the very famous, the very powerful, often combined in one and the same people.
Well, they must matter, but then that puts the other thing of, I'm just a guy mowing my lawn today. I don't matter, right?
That's right. And, worrying about the mortgage payments and blah, blah. And so one of the things, and this is important as a philosopher, is to argue for the essential mattering of all of us. We all, to the extent that any of us matter in the sense of, being worthy of
Yes.
having dignity, of having rights, like what the founders of our country said in the Declaration of Independence.
Yes.
That every human, they said every man, but okay, we've corrected it since. Every human
Yes.
has the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The pursuit of life and the pursuit of happiness involves feeling that you matter. There is no happiness without feeling that you matter. So this is coming to all of us as our founders understood. So when we have a society that's sort of set up now, has evolved into one in which some people matter so much more than others, that they seem to be grabbing up all the mattering, and people are left like scrambling like a bunch of children under a piñata, trying to get as much mattering as they can. That makes us ungenerous towards each other. That makes us adversarial towards each other.
So that gets me thinking about leaders today.
That's right.
How does this desire to matter influence their need about how they show up for other people?
A leader, a true leader, is somebody who empowers and matters. I mean, that's not a verb, but it ought to be. And matters everybody, makes everybody feel that they matter. They have different roles to play, different talents, different interests, different desires to do it, but deep down, all wanting to matter. And a leader finds a way to make everybody feel as if they matter, and makes them engage with their lives. We've got corporations now where people are just fungible. They can just be so easily replaced by one another. I use the metaphor of, a candy machine. It runs out and we can just refill it. It's endlessly stockable. That's how many people feel in their workplace.
Yes.
That, and I mean, that is leadership. So I just found out that this man, Nikolai Tangen is his name. He runs the biggest wealth fund in the world. The Norwegian government runs on this wealth fund. And he just discovered my book, and he tweeted, "This is what leaders need to know, that leaders need to know how to make people that they lead feel like they matter." Um,
And then that moves us through from the analytical philosophy debate. It goes to the heart. This is not theoretical because you matter, your heart matters, you matter. It starts getting really touchy feely, and some people don't know what to do, but that's really where people feel it, right? They matter.
That's right. That's right. And if you do something to somebody, you just watch it, that undermines their manner, and you interrupt them you watch what happens to their face. Watch, you are an enemy for life if you make them feel like they don't matter. You better apologize quick, because we're living this life. We're living it from the inside,
Yes.
and wherever there's a human life. I think about this. I live in downtown Boston. I live near the train station. There are a lot of homeless people who hang out there, and I just think every time I pass one, this is a person who matters, who matters themselves. They feel the failure, that what feels to them like the failure of their life, and it's not a good thing to be sleeping on the street, to be homeless. This is that this was a person where something went so very wrong, and what a tragedy.
So let me take that a step further. Thinking here with you is there a danger then of trying to tie our worth too closely to achievement and recognition? Because what you're saying is every human matters. They're a son, they're a daughter, they're a father, they're a sister, but we try to connect that worth to I've achieved. I got that medal. I got that new corner office, whatever it is. Is that where part of the problem is here?
Well, I think, some people are made for, I call them heroic strivers. They've got certain standards of excellence in their mind, and they want to come closer and closer to it. And that's what they need to feel like they matter. I happen to be such a person. So,
There we go. Nailed it on the
there
head.
we go. Confession. I have to feel like I'm making more progress in understanding. And I don't care, and if I feel like I am, then I want to share it because I think that would be useful. But basically, I'm interested in I just want to understand, how everything fits together in the largest way possible. That's kind of the working orders of a philosopher. That's what we do. That's how I ended up here. You have to, in some sense, be a heroic striver to, keep banging your head against the wall on these really difficult questions, And that's another thing. It's not just that feeling of happiness, which is fleeting, which is the neurotransmitters flooding our brain, and you feel, really good for a while. But that flood of neurotransmitters is not designed to keep going. You can't always be happy. What we're after is life satisfaction. And life satisfaction has a lot to do with answering to our satisfaction, the mattering instinct, And for me to have life satisfaction, I have to feel like I'm making progress in my own understanding. The awards are nice.
So let me just pick on you for a minute because you're being so transparent, which I love, by the way. So when President Obama put the National Humanitarian Medal around you, what was that moment like? It was a big achievement. I got a medal for the president.
Yeah. I mean, it was a happiness moment. I was happy. When I read it, I first thought it was a joke. I mean, seemed like so far outside of my vision of who I am and what I am. To the life of me, I still don't know how it happened, but it was encouraging in that way. It was like, oh, so I am doing something that other people find worthwhile. There is some value.
They noticed you.
They noticed, yeah. But I don't go out in the world and it's like, I don't wear the medal.
You don't go out to a dinner party, sit down and go, by the way, President Obama.
By the way, yes. In fact, I had told, in those days I was going to a gym pretty regularly. And so it was in the local newspaper. So my gym mates knew, and they said, wear it to the gym. And I said, this is a major piece of bling. This is
Yeah.
great. I'm not going to be doing aerobics with my metal. But there are other ways of doing it. And I end the book with somebody who I respect as much as I respect anybody in the entire world. Nobody knew her name. She was as poor could be, this Chinese woman who was born into terrible circumstances. She was a garbage collector. She would, find the recyclables and bring them to the recyclable station, did not even live a subsistence wage. And it was during the period of the one-child policy in China that,
Oh, yes, yes.
yes, the government dictated you could only have one child, and if you were only going to have one child, they wanted to be a boy. Another interesting bias that I can put in terms of mattering, that boys are often seen to matter more than girls. Through much of history, that was true. Anyway, so this impoverished woman would find baby girls thrown out in the dumpsters, in the public toilets, at the side of the road. You had your one baby, and it was a girl. Some people just put them out to be taken. And this woman, who could barely keep body and soul together for herself and her husband, collected these babies, brought them home to her hovel. It was an abandoned resting station on the way to the train station. It didn't even have a roof over her head. And she brought up more than 30 babies, 30 little girls, and some she couldn't bring home, but she found places for them. And she had passed away by the time I learned about her, but I spoke to one of her daughters, somebody who was found I think she was found under a bridge, and her name is Juju. And, when I asked her, did you ever, and she lives in China, I had to speak to her through an interpreter, did you ever want to find your birth mother? So she burst into tears, and she said, okay, I might start crying because it was so moving. She said, I had the most wonderful mother in the world. Every child who passed through her hands had the most wonderful mother in the world. Why would I want to find my birth mother? This was my mother. And I've had a wonderful life. So this woman, how did this woman, this impoverished woman, find her man? By knowing that every person matters, little girls matter, and allowing them to live and to flourish and to give them flourishing lives. And this was her way. And I asked her if her mother was happy. So happy. She said she discovered her happiness when she brought home that first baby. That was her happiness, that. So yeah, you're starting to cry. Yes. Yes.
But one of my other favorite quotes from your book was pointing to this right now. We don't just want to exist.
Yes.
We want our existence to count for something. And that woman may not have been on anyone's big radar.
Yeah.
But she counted for something.
What we count as a successful life has to be so widened from, the rich, the powerful, and the famous to, what are you doing to satisfy your own longing to matter? Are you somehow increasing? Are you mattering other people? I want to suggest that as a verb, matter.
So here's what other little thing in my head you're scratching on is, what part does truth play in all this?
Yeah.
The truth was, this woman understood we all matter.
And that is as true as truth can be. Yeah.
And she owned that truth. She lived that truth. But
yeah.
Are we ignoring truth like that? And that's part of the reason we're not buying what really matters in our lives?
Yeah. I think so. I think this is the fundamental ethical fact, and I'm not dissing on the other species.
No.
No, they matter too. And, pain. But there's something about being human. And it goes back, I think, to this mattering instinct that we take on this role of justifying ourselves to ourselves. This puts us at a very, I think, high level, that there's something noble about this, that to look at yourself and say, well, and just who are you to be paying yourself so much attention?
Right.
yeah,
So
um,
where do we find the balance of ambition
yeah,
and desire to contribute?
yeah,
Where's the balancing act and all that to help us become okay with the I matter?
yeah. So I think, we first, we have to recognize there's nothing selfish or self-centered in wanting to matter. In fact, it's ennobling because it really means mattering means being deserving of attention. We're trying to prove ourselves deserving of our own attention.
Yes.
There's something noble in that. However, however, um, that there are, I think, certain guardrails, certain,
Yes.
yeah. If it's all about yourself and you don't care about your mattering project's effect on other people's equally rightful longing to matter. You have to just bang this into what's
Right.
own head, right? That wherever there's a person longing to matter, and that must be recognized because that's part of reality. I mean, you're so right that truth and reality matters here.
Yes.
It matters here.
Let me circle back to something we touched on briefly, but I'm going to go back to it. I think it's really important in our conversation is in the age of social media right now, we are all trying to elevate ourselves to be seen, to be heard, to be valued, to matter.
Matter. Yeah.
How much is that feeding the monster right now? Because people are being devastated that social media is not doing it for them.
No, I know it's really isn't, and people present a false sense.
Yes.
You know, they're not real lives, right? So how deep can that even go if it's just a facade? It's just something you construct for others to
Right.
consume. I have a little personal experience. I never had been on social media. I just thought it was a waste of time, blah blah blah. So, but for my last book, my publisher wanted me on it, and to yeah. So and I owe something to my publisher. They very nicely publish my books and want to not publish me at a loss. So I did, and I noticed that when I would get a lot of likes
Yeah.
and retweets, the endorphins were flowing. I felt
Oh,
the happiness was flooding me. It didn't last long. It didn't last long. And so, but I could see it's kind of addictive. You want your
oh
next,
yes.
it's almost like cocaine. I mean, it's really a very strong,
You're chasing the next high.
the next high. Yeah. And I think, those highs, I mean, they're great. I mean, they feel great. But what we're in this for the long term, for our whole life. And it's life satisfaction that we want.
But there's that question that we hear all the time from philosophers to pastors, priests, teachers. At the end of their life, you're going to sit back and say, did my life matter?
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? We should be asking ourselves that, not at the end of our life.
Right.
We should be asking ourselves this all the time. We really should. Life is a terrible thing to waste, especially when it's your own. I mean, we don't, and we have so much potential, and we can be so distracted by these highs of getting a lot of attention. I know a lot of famous people, and at first, when they first become famous, it feels amazing.
Oh,
It gets you get used to it, and it's not a life satisfaction. It is for some people. I tell the story about oh God, I can't remember his name. He's a very famous movie star, Kevin Bacon.
okay.
And so he got annoyed by always being swamped by people, coming over in the street and taking selfies with him and everything.
Yep.
So he got himself a prosthetic nose and
I heard
um,
about this. Yes.
yeah, and he went to a mall in LA, and then he writes it was an interview in Vanity Fair, and he said, and then I thought, this really sucks. Nobody's coming over and saying how much they love me, and I have to
No one
wait.
wanted a selfie with him. Nobody.
No, I have to wait online for a freaking cup of coffee. He took off that prosthetic nose. So for some people, fame, they need it
Yeah.
to feel good about themselves. But there are very destructive ways to go about this.
Yes.
There are very creative ways of going about it. And that's what we hopefully ought to be after, creative ways of going about it.
That's why you're out there sharing all this. And by the way, we're going to bring up your website right now because you have a great website. It talks about the book there. What are they going to find when they go check out your website and hit the QR code?
Somebody designed it for me. So, and I think you did a really good job. You'll see pictures of me with President Obama.
Oh, yes, they're there.
Yeah, my past books. This book is my 11th book, and some of them are fiction because
Yes, you do both.
yeah, and the way I create fictional characters is how do they want to matter? That's how I can create these characters. But how are
Yep.
they going after it? Are they going after it destructively or creatively? So, and I also have started a Substack called the Mattering Map. I don't know if that's on there.
Not yet, but I'm going to go
Not
follow
yet,
you
I
and we'll
should,
share
yeah.
that in the notes afterward. I'm
Yeah.
going to be a new follower.
So yeah, because that's fun, because it is such a deep motivation, and I just see it all over. I see how it changes over people's lifetime,
Yes.
and differences maybe between men and women on how they go about mattering. Maybe not. Maybe there's a lot of empirical investigation to be done here.
So in a couple minutes left here, I'm going to flip the table. We're going to have a little bit of fun.
Okay,
So
I'm going to just say one more thing.
yeah,
We should give
absolutely.
each other more compliments.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? It's such an easy way of making people feel like they matter.
I always talk about putting deposits, like a coin in a slot
Yeah.
machine. You need to make deposits in people
Yeah.
because often we're pulling the deposits out and they go bankrupt emotionally, physical, spiritually, whatever.
Yeah.
You need to be doing that more. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. It's easy. If you're thinking, oh, that person, oh, what a nice turn of phrase. Say
Yeah.
it. What a beautiful turn of phrase. I wish I had thought of that. Beautiful.
I wish I had 11 books. Thank you very much that you've written 11 books.
But not the blood, sweat, and tears that preceded them.
So question number one here on the fun side is, what's something about you that most people would be surprised to learn about? Because you're a philosopher, you're a stoic, you're a leader at the top of Olympus. What's something people would be surprised to know?
As my husband would tell you, I am the silliest person in the world. I'm very silly. He has a whole series of pictures of me posing in the silliest ways you can possibly imagine, yeah. I think it's important not to take yourself too seriously.
Oh, no, I absolutely
know?
agree with that.
Yeah.
Totally agree with that. Here's
Yeah.
another one. If you could have, and you probably have thought about this, probably answered this, but who would you have for dinner for a long conversation and get into this whole you matter?
Oh gosh, so many. I have like a whole dinner party planned, right, across the generations. Yeah, I'd actually want to talk to my friends, Socrates over here, and
Yep.
his bias, that only people who live examine lives. I'd very much like to talk to a philosopher who means a great deal to me. I wrote a book about him, the 17th century thinker Spinoza. And I would like to talk to him. He was a great philosopher, and he also had this bias that, the people who matter the most are the philosophical people.
Oh yeah, there's an attitude floating out there, whether it's true or
Yeah.
false. There's an attitude out there.
I would want to take them. I'd want to take them on.
You want to
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
get into it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Rebecca, if you could talk to somebody today straight to the camera who's struggling with this whole I don't matter,
Yeah.
what's the best advice to give them to hear it today from you? Why they matter? How could they feel better about this? How can they move forward?
Yeah. I mean, the mere fact that they are worrying about their mattering, that they care that their mattering matters to them, already shows so much mattering. There is so much mattering in that. Think about the moments in your life that lit you up, that gave you the desire to continue on. Think about those, whether they are respected by society or not. Maybe it's when you were writing poetry, even though nobody cared about your poetry, whatever it was, think about that and try to build on that. But it's, yeah, it is. Yeah, one of my friends said he was going to order me a bunch of T-shirts to give out that would say it's hard to be human. It is. It's hard to be human, but there's something noble and magnificent about it too. None of us should waste it. Not the person who feels like he doesn't matter, not the people who are going about their mattering by undermining other people's mattering because they are wasting their life too.
Rebecca Goldstein, this has been great having you on Rock the Stage show today. Thanks for taking the time out. And I think we got people's brains going today. I think they're all noodling a little bit harder than they were before.
Well, I hope so. And can I practice what I preach and compliment you that you are so good at this? It's so much fun to talk to you, and you drew out things for me that I didn't know were there. So thank you very, very much.
Rock the Stage show, Rebecca Goldstein, thank you very much. And again, one of the biggest things I want to take away from all this is you touched on it right at the end. No matter your status, the awards, the accolades, no matter what, go back and think about the woman that was scooping up babies that were discarded. They weren't of value. They didn't matter. But to her, the lady that really didn't have a home over her own head, that was struggling to buy, saw how important they were and scooped them up and gave them value, meaning, and purpose. That's the world we want to live in. That's what's really going to matter. So thanks for joining us for this edition of Rock the Stage show. Come on back next week. We're going to have another great conversation once again. Highly unscripted. We go around the world to get the best of the best to help you shine brighter on camera, stage, and be a better human as well. We'll see you back here on Rock the Stage next week.